Hello, my name is Dan Murphy. I have Danny's Steakhouse in Red Bank, New Jersey. I've been here 41 years, 20 years as an Italian restaurant, and 27 years ago, I turned Danny's into a steakhouse. It was time for a change. I spent about a year going through every major steakhouse in New York and going to all the major distributors in New York and New Jersey, learning the process. So I'm going to take a minute just to show you a little bit about the meat market, the dry aging process, and the type of steak you should look for in a restaurant and when you're out at your markets. The first picture I have, this is called swinging beef. This is not done so much anymore. Everything is manufactured out of the Midwest and brought in. But this beef used to be brought into the meat market in New York, downtown. It would be brought in and put on a hook, as you see it here. It would be literally 1/4 of the steer. All right? This would be cut down into short loins and different sections of the meat that were used throughout the industry. But the meat that comes to you in the form of a steak would basically be short loins. If you take a look at this picture, here it has the short loins being cut up, and if you notice on the picture there's a blue stamp on that meat. That would be how I would go in, stamp the meat, so that I can identify this meat when it comes down to me. I know it's what I picked out, so I'm getting the best grade. And if you look at the heavy fat content around the outside of the steaks, that's your prime meats. So today we use prime and top choice. The difference being is the amount of fat content that's on the steer. Unfortunately, what's happening today in the market, and once again, this is a good example of your prime steak, they're not able to keep the steers in the fields as long as they used to. They need to move them out and sell them. So the prime market is drying up a little bit, but the top prime is still excellent. And that's what the majority of the steakhouses throughout the country use today. The dry aging is when the short loin, which has a bone on the top, it has fat around the outside and on the inside, is put on a shelf at 34 to 36 degrees for 3 to 6 weeks with low humidity. The ends, or the red meat, as you see here, starting over in this part, that meat will slowly turn dark and turn into almost like shoe leather, protecting the meat inside. And the bone and fat protects it. Enzymes come up, make the meat more tender, and it gives it a wonderful woody night taste. And this is your dry aged steak. It's very digestible. It's very, very tender. And this is what we in the steakhouse industry are shooting for. So I have some examples in front of me. If you want to come down and just scan down a little bit. If you take a look at this is a porterhouse for two. You'll notice the marbleization in it. The fat's been trimmed away. The bone's been cut. The fillet side is over 1.5 to 2 inches wide. The New York strip is about 3 to 4 inches wide. It is a porterhouse as long as they cut them down, and the fillet, which is in the middle, gets smaller as you cut them down. Eventually it turns into a T-bone. Now if you swing over here just a little bit, this T-bone, if you notice, the fillet side is a lot smaller. When the fillet is under 1.25 inches, then the porterhouse now becomes a T-bone. It's called a T-bone. If you're looking at this is your New York strip. When you take the bone away, then you come over to what we have in the form of a New York strip. Now, if you can, take a little bit of notice to the marbleization in here. The marbleization is fairly good in here. This would be a top choice. Now, this steak has less marbleization. I'd put that underneath. This is not a steak I would use. This is not a product. When it comes in, I look at it. If I don't like it, it's going back because I'm using a top choice. Over here, this is a ribeye. A grilled ribeye is basically a prime rib, which has been cut up like a steak and grilled. You can roast the whole piece, and that's where you get your prime rib for. Basically, over here we have our New York strip and our prime rib as they come in. What we're doing with these, you notice on this end, this is your New York strip, and when we get it in, what we basically do is trim it really well. Chino, who's now my head chef, and he's not only the best chef I've ever had, he's probably one of the best I've ever met across the board on the menu, but he does a phenomenal job of cutting these down into some of the best steaks you could possibly have. And then what we do is all the trim and all the extra meat from the fillets and the New York strip, we turn into hamburger. So the hamburger is phenomenal. I'm going to pick up a fillet. This is your filet mignon. This is the whole piece. And basically, the head comes off and is used for different appetizers we do. Down the center, we'll cut 6 fillets out of the center of the beef, and then the tail, which comes off, we use for different appetizers that we do. If you ever order Chateaubriand, just so you know, Chateaubriand means heart of the house, and the chateau cut Comes right out of the center of this. Okay, so that's about it as far as your education on the meats. What I want to do now is take you back to meet my head chef, Chino. He's going to cook a porterhouse for two. We're then going to bring it out here, and we're going to try it and test it. And let me tell you, it's one of the best steaks you could ever have. Thank you very much.